You start asking questions like, when you've done something like this in the past, how have you been able to afford it? And let them tell an example. And then maybe they'll come back and they'll say, well, and that's how that one worked. And then maybe that's a one-off, or maybe that's something, hey, can you do that again? Could we use that same process that you just shared with me again to get involved here? Good morning, Sales Ascender! It's Thursday. I hope you're having a great week. And I am ready for another sales objection series with this high ticket tune-up. So let's just jump right into it. Have you ever had anyone say to you after a great long sales conversation, you get to a place and they say, man, I really want this, but I just can't afford it. Well, dang, I've been there too. And this sucks, right? Like, this is that one objection that kind of hit when I first started getting this. It would always hit me in the gut because I was like, oh man, how do I deal with this? Because it's like, I'm not in their world. I don't know their financial situation. I don't know how they're going to be able to afford things. And I know that what I'm doing solves a problem that they actually have, and that they could move forward in their life, and they could have a huge impact in their world, and they could help, create the ripple effect with their clients and their customers. And so I started getting this question over and over and over again. Eventually I took it to one of my sales coaches and I said, hey, what do you say when someone says I want it, but I can't afford it? And his response to me was really interesting. He said, well, do you know any of their financial situation? And I was like, no, but that was what I was thinking the whole time through. And he said, well, if you don't know, you should ask. Brilliant. Light bulb moment for me. And so the next time I got into this conversation, I went all the way through a sales call and I got to the place where they said, man, I know this will solve my problem. I know I want to move forward. I want this, but I just can't afford it. And it took me a while to come up with this. And then this is the line that I started to use. This line works really well every single time this happens. Be like, well, if it's not, I don't think it's a can't, it's how can I? So let me share that again. I think like the answer to this one is like, we agree that I can solve your problem. We agree that we can make impact in your world. We can move your business forward. And it's not really that you can't afford it. It's just how can you? And then when they agree on that, the next move is to say, let's walk through that process. Can we talk about the budget that you have set aside, or maybe you don't have a set aside a budget? Let's go down that path a little bit. And you start asking questions like, when you've done something like this in the past, how have you been able to afford it? And let them tell an example. And then maybe they'll come back and they'll say, well, and that's how that one worked. And then maybe that's a one-off, or maybe that's something, hey, can you do that again? Could we use that same process that you just shared with me again to get involved here? And they would say yes or no. And then sometimes if they say no, that's okay. You just keep going. You say, well, let's, a lot of our clients, they come to us and they go get a loan. Is getting a loan something that you think you can do? Is your credit score good enough to do something like that? And they're going to say yes, no, or maybe so. And then if that's a no, then you move to the next option. And what I do is I have like about 4 or 5 main options that I share. So the first one is I always say, well, it's not really can't, but it's how can I, if we both agree that this is going to solve your problem, right? Get agreement on that, because now there's no objection. It's just you have to find the process or the path to do it. And then the first thing is hey, tell me about a time when you invested in something similar to what you're looking at now. How did you do it? What was the plan? What was the play? How did that work? And they'll share like a little thing. And then the next thing I'll ask is, well, is that something that we could do for this? And they might be able to say yes. And if they say yes, problem solved. If they say no, then you go on to the next one and you say, well, about a little while ago, we had a client came in, they went and got a loan. Is that something you think you could do? Yes or no? No. Okay, cool. How about, do you have like a 401k or something? I mean, like, we understand the impact this is going to make in your world. Do you have a 401k or a life insurance policy that we could break or use or find some cash flow there? It's just an option. Yes or no, maybe so. If they say yes, solved. If they say no, move on to the next one. One of the next ones you can share is this. You could say, well, depending on the price point that you have, if it's 1,000, 2,000, 1,500, 2,000, whatever, and you can guarantee results. Like in our world, we make sure that anyone that gets involved with any of our programs, like, they better close the deal in their first 4 to 6 weeks. Like, that's the expectation, right? Because I know that when we teach what we teach, then they can close a deal, and the deal will create cash flow, and cash flow can replenish funds. So one of the other things I say is this. I'll say something like, I have clients that come to me and they say the same things. Like, they seem that they can't afford it. But then I ask, how can we? And we get to this place. And I had this one, actually, I do have the story about a guy who sold everything in his house except for the stuff in his daughter's bedroom, so he could actually invest over $10,000 with me. Do you have some stuff around the house, like an old iPad or maybe some electronics that we could actually go sell on like, Facebook Marketplace or something like that? And if that's a yes, great. That's a yes. And you could go on to the next one. If that's a no, then you say, well, is there anyone that could co-sign on a loan for you? Yes, no, maybe so. No? Okay, great. Let's go on to the next one. Hey, is there anyone that you could borrow the money from? Do you have a friend or a close friend that could actually help? And so the secret is just to keep walking through all of these options until you find one that works. So in handling this, I want it, but I can't afford it. The first thing is to say, okay, I understand that. That's how you feel right now, but I don't think it's so much of a can't. It's kind of how can I? And then get them to confirm that that's what the case is, and then walk through all the different options. And when you have that, you'll eventually jump over this one and it'll be a no-brainer for you, and you'll be able to smash it every single time. And that's it. That's the easy way to handle this one. There's no problem. So like, if you get this one, I want it, but I can't afford it. This is the video that you're going to watch, because it's going to share all of the secrets that you need in order to combat this sales objection. I hope this one helped you today. You've just been tuned in. It's Thursday, and I look forward to seeing you next time.